Swiss Family Robinson, Chapter 7, A Voyage to the Wreck. What shall we undertake first today, my dear wife? I said. A voyage to the ship is absolutely necessary if the cattle are to be saved from starving, and there are many useful things on board that would be real value to us. But we have also much to do here, and above all it is necessary that we construct a more secure dwelling. Certainly a voyage to the wreck is first necessary, for should a storm arise, everything on board will be lost. But patience, dear husband, she replied, all will be accomplished in time. It was accordingly agreed that the three youngest boys should stay with my wife, and that Fritz and I should proceed to the wreck. I soon roused the children. Fritz jumped up first and ran for his jaguar. He placed it on its four legs in a most lifelike attitude at the entrance of the tent to surprise his brothers. No sooner did the dogs see it when they rushed at it to tear it in pieces, but Fritz called them off. Their barking, however, caused the boys to hasten out to see what was the matter. Jack issued first with the monkey on his shoulder, but no sooner did the little creature see the jaguar than he sprang into the tent and hid himself among the moss, till only the tip of his nose was visible. All were astonished to see this large animal. Francis thought it was a yellow cat. Jack said it was a tiger, and Ernest pronounced it a panther. Fritz laughed at the learned professor, who knew the agouti immediately and now called a jaguar a panther. At last I interfered. You are none of you very far wrong, for the jaguar partakes of the nature of the cat, the tiger, and the panther. My words preceded peace, and after assembling once more for prayer, we proceeded to breakfast. We were obliged to content ourselves with dry biscuits, which were so hard that our teeth could scarcely break them. Fritz asked for some cheese, and went behind the tent to procure some from the cask. Ernest followed, and quickly returning with a bright face, exclaimed, "Oh, Papa, if we could only open the other cask!" "What cask?" I asked. "The large cask just outside. Some grease has run through a little crack. I am sure it looks exactly like salt butter." "Come, boys," I exclaimed, "we will go and see." And all sallied out to examine this wonderful cask. I very quickly proved that the boy was right, and in a few minutes obtained a coconut cup full of butter, beautiful salt butter. We toasted the biscuits at the fire, covered them with butter, and so had the most delicious breakfast we had had so far. During our meal, the dogs lay quietly by our side, and did not seem at all anxious for their share of our breakfast. I examined the poor beasts, and found they had been bitten in several places, especially around the neck. As the animals commenced licking their wounds, my wife washed the salt out of some butter, and applied it as a salve, and in a few days they were completely healed. Ernest remarked that they ought to have spiked collars to defend from any of the wild beasts they may encounter. "I will soon make them 2 collars," said Jack, "if you will let me." I was glad to employ his inventive powers, and requesting my children not to leave their mother during our absence, we set about the necessary preparations for our voyage. While Fritz made ready the boat of casks, I erected a flagstaff, attaching a piece of sailcloth to it for a flag, to serve as a signal to us as we're going on well. If, however, we were wanted, they were to lower the flag and fire a gun 3 times, when we would immediately return. For as I informed my dear wife, it might be necessary for us to remain on board all night. Trusting to find provisions on the ship, we took nothing but our guns and ammunition. Fritz asked to be allowed to take the little monkey, that he might give it some milk from the cow or the goat. After taking a tender leave of each other, we embarked and rowed into the little middle of the bay. Here I perceived a strong current from a river, which set in toward the vessel. I was glad to take advantage of it, and it carried us a long way on our voyage. We rowed the remainder of the distance, and soon moored our boat alongside the wreck and went on board. Fritz hastened first to feed the cattle, and all the animals saluted us with manifest joy. We put the young monkey to the goat, which, to our infinite amusement, he sucked on extraordinary grimaces. Then took some refreshment ourselves, and Fritz proposed that we should at once fix a mast or sail to our boat. For, said he, the current which helped us to the vessel cannot carry us back, but the wind which was against us will be of immense service if we have a sail. I thought his advice good, and we immediately began this work. I selected a strong pole for a mast and made a hole in the plank to receive it. Securing the plank on our fourth tub, thus forming a deck, we raised our mast and finally fastened it by ropes to each extremity of the boat. Fritz ornamented the top of the mast with a little red streamer and gave our boat the name the Deliverance. To complete its equipment, I contrived grooves for inserting an oar so that I should steer and otherwise maneuver the boat from either end. As the day was already far advanced, I signaled to my wife that we should not return that night, and we spent the rest of the day in emptying the tubs of stones we had used as ballast. In their place, we stowed such useful things as powder and shot, nails and tools of all kinds, pieces of cloth, and above all, knives, forks, spoons, and kitchen utensils, including a roasting jack. In the captain's cabin, we found a service of silver plate, some pewter covers and dishes, and a small hamper filled with choice wine. All these we took, as well as a stock of provisions intended for the officers' table, including portable soup, Westphalian hams, and bologna sausages, together with some bags of maize, wheat, and other seeds, and a supply of potatoes. We also collected all the implements of husbandry we could find room for, and stowed them in the boat, together with some hammocks and blankets. Of all these things there was an ample supply, so we had free choice among an immense quantity of useful articles, as all suitable for the isolated life we seemed likely to have to spend on this lonely island. As our vessel was an emigrant ship, whose destination was the southern seas, our fellow passengers had provided themselves with provisions and utensils which a ship bound on an ordinary voyage would not have carried. To all these I added a barrel of sulphur, with which to make matches, all the cord and string I could lay my hands on, and a large roll of sailcloth. Our tubs were loaded to the edge, and if the sea had not been so calm, it would have been dangerous to attempt our return. We once more exchanged signals with those on shore to assure ourselves of their safety, and after prayers retired to our tugboat for the night. Fritz slept soundly, but I, anxiously thinking of the dangers of the previous night, could not close my eyes. I was, however, thankful for the protection those on shore had in the faithful dogs in case of the emergency.